At Thanksgiving dinner, my dad stood up and toasted, "Here's to finally being free of our useless mistake of a son." Everyone laughed, except me. I didn't say a word, just carefully cut my turkey, smiled, and left early. They had no clue I'd been recording the whole night. Last week, that recording took down more than just their reputations. Now they're screaming for help, but I'm done. So I'm sitting at my kitchen table last Tuesday, scrolling through my phone after a long-ass day, when I get this group text from my mom. It's this weirdly formal message about an important family financial discussion happening at their house tomorrow night, complete with dinner and all immediate family members required to attend. Required? Like I'm some corporate asset being called to a shareholder meeting. Red flag number 1. When I texted back asking what this was about, radio silence. Called my mom, straight to voicemail, called Dad. "Just come to dinner, son." Nobody communicates like this in my family unless something's up. For context, 3 months ago, my grandparents, Dad's parents, passed away within weeks of each other. We were all devastated, but I was especially close to them. They basically raised me during the summers while my parents worked overtime. Gramps taught me everything about money management, investing, the whole financial literacy package. He was an accountant his whole life, lived modestly, and was smart with his cash. In their will, they left $275,000 specifically to me, not to my brother Robert, not to my parents, just me. Why? Because, in their words, I was the only one who wouldn't piss it away. Harsh, but accurate. My brother Robert has never kept a dollar. He didn't immediately convert into some status symbol. He's 37 and still has negative net worth from his investment in a jet ski business that lasted 6 months. Meanwhile, I've been maxing out my retirement accounts since I was 23. So I arrive at my parents' modest ranch house the next day and immediately notice glossy real estate brochures strategically placed on the coffee table. Beach properties, vacation homes, all in the 300 to 500,000 range. Subtle as a fucking sledgehammer. Mom's practically vibrating with excitement. Dad's doing that nervous thing where he cleans his glasses every 30 seconds. And then Robert and his wife Magnolia arrive, both dressed like they're about to film a house hunting reality show. Magnolia literally squealing about the amazing opportunity they wanted to discuss. We sit down to my mom's lasagna, manipulation lasagna. She only makes it when someone's about to get emotionally blackmailed, and Robert starts his pitch, not even waiting for dessert. He starts talking about this once-in-a-lifetime investment opportunity on the coast, a beach house that's practically a steal at $420,000. He just needs my inheritance as the down payment, and they'll totally pay me back from the rental income. When I ask about his credit score, which I already know is in the garbage range, he brushes it off. When I ask about their current debt, also garbage, Mom jumps in, saying family helps family. When I point out that this isn't an investment, it's a luxury purchase with shit returns, Robert's face does this thing where it turns from fake cheerful to rage monster in 0.5 seconds. And then it happens. I tell them flat out, I'm not using my inheritance for his beach house fantasy. Robert stands up, knocks over his chair, and sneers that I'm nothing but a fucking leech who got lucked with the inheritance while he actually works for a living. LMAO. He's been fired from 3 sales jobs in 5 years while I've been working 60-hour week. Dad just stares at his plate. Mom starts crying. And then comes the kicker. She looks at me with those manipulative tears and says if I really loved this family, I'd do it without question. That real family members share their good fortune. That I'm being selfish. I stayed silent, just packed up and left while they were still talking. Didn't slam the door, didn't yell, just walked out to my car and drove home. The aftermath was nuclear. For 3 straight weeks, 57 text messages, yes, I counted, 23 missed calls, 8 voicemails ranging from guilt-tripping to straight-up threats. Robert's wife posting passive-aggressive TikToks about toxic family members who hoard wealth. Extended family members I haven't spoken to in years suddenly messaging me on Facebook about doing the right thing. I blocked most of them, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, tried to focus on work. But then last weekend, my cousin sends me a screenshot of Robert's Instagram story. A fucking beach house with the caption, "Making dreams happen. Thanks to my supportive family for making this possible. Blessed family first." He was telling everyone I'd already agreed. That was my breaking point. The absolute audacity of this man. I've spent my entire life being the responsible one. The one who didn't ask for bailouts. The one who didn't blow money on status symbols. The one who visited Gramps and Grandma every week until they passed. And now I'm the villain because I won't hand over nearly 300 grand for his vanity project. I called my friend Barry that night. We've been tight since college, and he's one of the few people who gets how toxic my family can be. We met for drinks, and I just unloaded everything. He listened, then asked one question that changed everything. What if you stopped playing defense? See, my whole life I've been reacting to my family's bullshit. Damage control. Avoiding conflict. Being the bigger person. But what if, for once, I went on the offensive? Barry and I spent that entire night mapping out exactly what I could do. Not just to protect my inheritance, but to make sure they never try this shit again. By morning, we had a plan. A beautiful, meticulous, scorched earth plan that would take about 3 months to execute perfectly. I started gathering information. Bank statements, social media posts, screenshots, recording conversations, one-party consent state, BW. Building what Barry called the nuclear option folder. I didn't know if I'd need it, but having it felt like finally wearing armor in a fight where I'd been naked my whole life. For the next 2 weeks, I kept a low profile. Let them think I was considering their proposal. Let Robert keep posting his fantasy beach house bullshit. Let my parents think their guilt tactics were working. Then yesterday, I found a certified mail slip on my door. Went to the post office this morning to pick it up. It was a thick manila envelope containing legal documents from a firm called Walton & Associates. A formal letter requesting my presence at a family mediation meeting with the family lawyer, Nora Walton. Paperwork for a family trust adjustment that would essentially force me to contribute my inheritance to a family pool that, surprise, Robert would control as the senior sibling. They're trying to legally coerce me now. Like I'm some kind of idiot who would sign away my inheritance because a lawyer asks nicely. Little do they know, I've spent the last 3 months preparing for exactly this scenario. They think they're bringing a knife to a gunfight, but I've got a fucking nuclear arsenal ready to deploy. The mediation is scheduled for tomorrow at 3, and I'll be there, with receipts, all the receipts, to be continued. Update 1. For those asking for an update on the family mediation meeting, grab some popcorn because this saga just went from daytime drama to psychological thriller. So I walked into that lawyer's office yesterday at exactly 2:55 p.m. Not 3 o'clock, not 3:05. I wanted to be there first. Power move 101. And what do I find? My entire family already seated around a conference table looking like they're posing for a dysfunctional family portrait. Mom nervously arranging and rearranging her purse. Dad staring at his phone, pretending to be busy. Robert and Magnolia whispering to each other, stopping abruptly when they noticed me. The look on their faces when I walked in calmly with a leather portfolio and external hard drive? Fucking priceless. They expected me to either not show up or come in hot, all emotional and defensive. Instead, I walked in like I was about to lead a board meeting, nodded at everyone, and sat down directly across from Robert. Made direct eye contact until he looked away first. Chess, not checkers. Then lawyer Nora walks in, mid-50s, expensive haircut, probably bills $300 an hour to destroy families. She starts with this rehearsed speech about difficult family financial situation and finding equitable solutions for all parties. Translation: how can we legally strong-arm you into giving up your inheritance? She slides over this document titled Family Asset Reallocation Agreement. No joke. It was basically a pre-written contract transferring my inheritance into a family trust that, surprise, would be primarily managed by Robert for family investment opportunities, aka his beach house wet dream. Now, here's where the 3 months of preparation came in handy. When Nora asked if I had any questions before signing, I smiled and pulled out my phone. Asked if I could record this meeting for my records. The room froze. Mom started doing this weird throat-clearing thing. Robert's face went from smug to panic in 0.5 seconds. Nora said recording wasn't necessary as she'd provide minutes. I informed her that I'd been recording all family conversations about this inheritance since day one. Legal in our state. One-party consent. Robert immediately started yelling about invasion of privacy. Dad went pale. Mom started crying again. But I just sat there, calm, playing the first audio clip of Robert explicitly stating he was going to use the money for his gambling debts, not a beach house. Recorded at a family BBQ 3 weeks ago when he thought I was inside getting beers. The look on Nora's face, chef's kiss. She immediately called for a brief recess and asked to speak with my parents and Robert privately. I could hear the raised voices from the hallway. 20 minutes later, they emerged looking like they'd all been slapped with wet towels. That was just the appetizer. See, after my last post, I didn't just sit around waiting for their next move. I went full forensic accountant on Robert's ass. Hired a financial investigator, worth every penny of the $800. What we found was a fucking goldmine of deception. Robert isn't a regional sales director like he tells everyone. He's a regular sales rep who's been on performance probation twice in the last year. His salary isn't 6 figures as he brags to everyone. It's $62,000 base plus commission that rarely materializes because he's consistently missing targets. He and Magnolia are drowning in $97,000 of credit card debt spread across 11 cards. 11. He has an online gambling addiction that's eating up roughly $3,000 per month. His Venmo history is basically a digital trail of sports betting disasters. The beach house investment wasn't even real. The property was already under contract to another buyer. He just needed my inheritance to cover his debts before his creditors came calling. The cherry on top? He's been using Magnolia's social security number to open new credit lines because his credit is so trash. She had no idea. This will be important later. But I didn't reveal all this at the lawyers' meeting. That would be playing my whole hand too soon. Instead, I just showed enough evidence to make Nora realize she was potentially facilitating financial fraud. She quickly changed her tune from family mediator to, I think we should adjourn this meeting until everyone has had time to reflect. As we were leaving, Robert cornered me in the parking lot, got all up in my face, trying to intimidate me physically since his legal strategy failed, called me every name in the book, said I was dead to the family. Standard Robert tantrum. I just smiled and took out my phone, held it up, told him every word was being recorded, and if he touched me, it would go straight to the police. He backed off like I was radioactive. That night, I met with Barry at his place to implement Phase 2 of our plan. We created what I've been calling the Robert Reality Check Dossier, a professionally bound document containing every bit of financial dirt we'd uncovered, organized chronologically with color-coded tabs. It's beautiful, in a devastating sort of way. But the real genius move? Barry helped me set up a meeting with Robert's boss, Scarlett. Didn't have to try hard. Turns out our industry has these quarterly networking events, and Barry made sure we were at the same happy hour table last week. I never mentioned Robert directly, just asked innocent questions about their company's sales territory, structure, and commission policy. Scarlett, 3 drinks in, started venting about a problem employee who's been creatively representing his sales numbers to clients and family. Mentioned this employee was on thin ice already for expense report irregularity. Didn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out who she was talking about. So now I had external confirmation that Robert was not just lying to family, but potentially committing workplace fraud. Added that to the dossier. The next step was subtle but crucial. I accidentally mentioned to my cousin, the same one who sent me Robert's Instagram beach house fantasy, that I'd heard Robert was having money troubles. Just dropped it casually during a text conversation about something else entirely. Knew it would spread through the family grapevine like wildfire. Within 48 hours, Robert was getting concerned calls from relatives asking if everything was okay financially. His social media immediately shifted to defensive posts about haters and jealous family members spreading lies. The psychological pressure was building. Yesterday was the final preparation stage. I withdrew $20,000 from my inheritance and put it in a separate account, not because I'm spending it, but because I wanted the transaction to show up on my banking app when I accidentally open it in front of Magnolia later. A little psychological warfare preview of what she's missing out on by sticking with Robert. I also prepared a separate folder containing only the evidence of the credit cards opened in Magnolia's name without her knowledge. That's her own personalized time bomb that I'm saving for the perfect moment. Then this morning, it happened. The text from Mom. Dylan, we need to have one final family meeting at our house tomorrow night. Just family. No lawyers. Your father and I feel we can resolve this ourselves. Please come. We all love you. Translation. Robert is freaking out about what else I might know, and they want to do damage control before I completely destroy him. Little do they know, it's already too late for damage control. The dossier is printed. The evidence is backed up in 3 different places. The plan is in motion. Tomorrow night I'm going to walk into that house with my briefcase of receipts and systematically dismantle the family myth that Robert is the successful golden child and I'm just the lucky inheritance recipient. It's not about the money anymore. It's about 31 years of being treated like I'm less than him despite doing everything right. It's about them trying to legally steal from me after I said no. It's about fucking respect. And after tomorrow, they'll never look at me or Robert the same way again. Stay tuned. The nuclear option is about to be deployed. Update 2. The weirdest thing about walking into my parents' house last night wasn't the tension. It wasn't the fake smiles. It wasn't even the way my mom had clearly stress-cleaned every surface until it gleamed. No, the weirdest thing was the silence. You could practically hear everyone's heartbeats. That's how I knew they were scared. And they should have been. I arrived exactly on time, carrying my locked briefcase and external hard drive. Didn't dress up. Didn't dress down. Just normal jeans and a button-up. Wanted to look like I wasn't trying too hard while still giving off I've got my shit together vibes. The living room was set up like some kind of intervention. Mom and Dad on the couch, Robert and Magnolia in the armchairs. A conspicuously empty chair in the middle, clearly meant for me. Classic power play. Surround the target. I ignored it and pulled a dining room chair over instead, positioning myself closer to the door. Small rebellion, big message. I control my position in this family now. Nobody knew what to say at first. Dad kept clearing his throat like he was about to start a rehearsed speech, but couldn't remember his line. Mom was fiddling with the hem of her shirt, her tell when she's nervous. Robert was trying and failing to look casual, but his leg was bouncing so fast it might have registered on the Richter scale. And Magnolia? She kept glancing between Robert and me like she was watching a tennis match where both players had grenades. Dad finally broke the silence with this half-assed speech about family unity and how money issues shouldn't come between blood. Rich coming from the people who literally tried to legally steal my inheritance last week. Mom jumped in with the tearful routine about how worried they've been about me and my sudden change in personality. According to her, I've never been this confrontational, and they're concerned about my mental health. LMAO. Translation. You've never stood up to us before, and we hate it. Then Robert, with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer, suggested we start fresh and forget the beach house thing, because family is more important than money. He even tried to go for a brotherly shoulder pat. I moved away before he could touch me. That's when I opened my briefcase and removed the dossier. 273 pages of meticulously organized financial evidence, text messages, social media posts, and recorded conversation, bound in a nice navy blue cover with Robert last name financial history. 2018 to 2025 inches embossed on the front. Cost me $80 at the copy shop, but worth every penny for the dramatic effect. The room went so quiet you could hear the refrigerator humming from the kitchen. I started with the facts. No emotion, no accusations. Just cold, hard numbers. Robert's actual salary, $62,000, versus what he claims to make, $120,000 his current debt, $97,000 in credit cards, $42,000 in personal loans, $18,000 in gambling debts to unofficial lenders, aka the kind of people who don't send collection notices, they send threats. His monthly expenditures versus income. Spoiler, he spends roughly $2,000 more than he makes every month. His complete betting history from 3 different online gambling sites, average loss, $3,000 per month. Screenshots of him trying to sell my grandparents' heirloom watches on eBay a week after their funeral. This one made Dad physically flinch. Through all of this, I maintained eye contact with each family member in turn, watching their expressions shift from defensive to shocked to horrified. Magnolia's face when I showed her the credit check revealing 7 cards opened in her name without her knowledge, I almost felt bad for her. Robert tried to interrupt multiple times, called me a liar, said I was making things up, claimed the documents were fake, but each time I simply played an audio recording of him contradicting himself, him bragging to his friend about hiding money from Magnolia, him telling a bookie he'd have the cash soon because his brother was about to come into some money, him telling Dad he made 6 figures easy, while the very next clip had him begging his boss for an advance because he couldn't make rent. The recordings shut him up fast. Then came the bombshell. I connected my external drive to my parents' TV, took some figuring out. Their ancient setup is still running HDMI cables from 2010. Pulled up a video recording from a hidden camera I'd set up at that last family BBQ. It showed Robert in the garage with his gambling buddy, explicitly stating he needed my inheritance to clear the books with some dangerous people, and that the beach house story was just a cover to get the family on his side. My mom actually gasped. Dad put his head in his hand. Magnolia started quietly crying. And Robert went through this fascinating color transformation. Red to white, to green to red again. Then came the explosion. Robert started yelling, knocking things over, calling me every name in the book, claimed I'd violated his privacy, that I was trying to destroy his marriage, that I was jealous of him, LMAO. Classic cornered rat behavior. I just sat there, calm, letting him dig his grave deep every word. When he finally ran out of steam, I delivered the killing blow. I explained that I'd already spoken to his boss, Scarlett, at an industry event, hadn't shown her any evidence yet, but had expressed concerns about potential misrepresentation of sales figures. Mentioned that Scarlett seemed very interested in reviewing my evidence, given that Robert was already on probation for expense report irregularities. The look on his face, like I'd just pulled the pin on a grenade and handed it to him. Then I turned to Magnolia and handed her a separate folder containing only the evidence of identity theft. The credit cards opened in her name, the loans taken out with her social security number, the collection notices being sent to a P.O. box she didn't know about. Told her I wasn't trying to destroy her life, but she deserved to know the truth about her financial situation before it ruined her credit for the next decade. My parents tried to intervene then. Dad started with the let's all calm down routine, while Mom went full emotional manipulation, crying about how I was tearing the family apart. I shut that down real quick. Reminded them that they came after my inheritance. They tried to legally force me to sign it over. They chose Robert's side without question, and now they were facing the consequences of enabling his bullshit for 37 years. I then laid out my terms. Robert admits his financial situation to the entire extended family. No more fake success stories. No more pretending to be a big shot. The truth, all of it. Robert enters financial counseling and gambling addiction treatment. Not negotiable. Robert sets up a repayment plan for Magnolia for all the debt he put in her name. Every single penny. My parents backed the fuck off about my inheritance permanently. It's mine. End of discussion. If any of these conditions are violated, the complete dossier goes to Robert's employer, the credit bureaus for the identity theft report, and every family member with a Facebook account. The alternative? I walk out, send everything to everyone, and never speak to any of them again. Robert tried to call my bluff. Started with threats about how I'd regret this, how he'd make my life hell. I just pulled out my phone, opened my email app, and showed him the draft email to his boss with all the evidence attached, my thumb hovering over send. He shut up real quick. My parents, finally realizing the gravity of the situation, turned on Robert, started demanding answers about the gambling, the debt, the lies. The family united front crumbled in real time. It was like watching a building implode. Oddly satisfying, but also a little sad. Magnolia just sat there, silently flipping through her folder, occasionally looking up at Robert with this mixture of disgust and disbelief. At one point, she just grabbed her purse and left without a word. The front door closing behind her might as well have been a gunshot for how it silenced the room. And that's when it happened, the moment I'd been waiting for. Robert broke, not with a bang but with a whimper, started admitting everything. The gambling, the debt, the lies about his job, how he'd been living beyond his means for years to keep up appearances, how he was in too deep with some very dangerous people, how the beach house was never going to be an investment. It was going to be collateral for a loan to pay off his gambling debts. My parents sat there, shell-shocked, as their golden child self-destructed in front of them. Then came the begging. All three of them, looking at me with those pathetic eyes, saying they didn't know. They had no idea how bad it was. They would have never pushed me about the inheritance if they'd known the truth. Too little, too fucking late. I left them with copies of everything, told them they had 48 hours to agree to my terms. Then I walked out, got in my car, and drove to Barry's place where we ordered pizza and played Elden Ring until 2 a.m. like the old days. First time I've genuinely laughed in months. This morning, the text started rolling in. From Dad, agreement to all terms, asking for family meeting to heal. From Mom, tearful apology video, begging for forgiveness. From Robert, nothing but, I agree to everything. Please don't send that email. From Magnolia, a simple, thank you for showing me the truth. I'm staying with my sister for a while. So that's where we stand. I've won the battle, but the war has permanently changed the landscape. I don't know if I'll ever trust them again. Don't know if I want to. What I do know, my inheritance is safe. Robert is facing actual consequences for once in his entitled life. And I've finally stopped being the family doormat. Oh, and that beach house? I checked the listing online this morning out of curiosity. Sale pending status removed. Back on the market. Guess Robert's dream home will stay a dream. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about forcing them to face reality.